Time now for the latest business news, joined on the set by Catherine Bennett. Morning to you, Catherine.
Good morning.
Beginning with President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus package already suffering a setback in the United States.
That's absolutely right. So a Senate official has ruled that the Democrats' plan to raise the minimum federal wage has to be scrapped from the COVID-19 relief bill. The measure would have seen lawmakers raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour from $7.25. And Democrats have wanted this for a long time, so this is certainly a blow for them. And they may struggle to get it passed outside of the relief bill because of the slim political majority they have. Biden says he's disappointed by this ruling, but he wants to press forward with passing the rest of the relief bill, which would include stimulus checks of $1,400 for most Americans.
Now, later today, G20 finance ministers are meeting by video conference to discuss how to relaunch the global economy. Catherine, what's going to be on top of this agenda?
Well, equality is going to be the buzzword at today's meeting. It's all about how wealthier countries can help poorer countries work their way out of the COVID-19 crisis. The International Monetary Fund warned this week that G20 countries need to reverse a dangerous divergence that could see developing countries lagging behind for years unless something is done now. The US is going to be leading the charge on this. They want to convince G20 countries to coordinate on a global vaccination campaign. And US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has reiterated her call to go big when it comes to major economies spending their ways out of the crisis. She urged G20 countries to take significant fiscal and financial policy actions and avoid withdrawing support too early, telling them that if there was ever a time to go big, this is the moment.
Catherine, last day of the trading week. Tell us how the markets are doing.
Well, global markets are falling this Friday after a rout in bond markets have pushed yields up. Investors are worried that the global recovery is going to lead to a rise in inflation, forcing central banks to hike interest rates. In Europe, stocks taking their cue from Asia and dropping sharply at the open, with the FTSE down 1.1% and the CAC 40 and the Frankfurt DAX both shedding 1.5%. In Asia, the Nikkei in Japan led losses, shedding 4%. The Shanghai Composite was down 2%. The Hang Seng Index fell further in later trade, down 3.5%, and Seoul's Kospi was down around 3%.
Well, that's it for the silly business. Now for something very serious. The iconic toy Mr. Potato Head is getting a rather surprising rebrand. What's changing?
Well, I'm glad you asked me this. So Mr. Potato Head is losing the Mr. and his wife is also losing her title. Toy company Hasbro has said that it wants to make all feel welcome in the Potato Head world. And as a result, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head will just become Potato Head. Hasbro says that this more gender-neutral designation aims to promote gender equality and inclusion. And it means that kids can make up their own Potato Head families with 2 mums or 2 dads. Unsurprisingly, this move has come in for a lot of criticism, panned as a PR stunt or seen as overly politically correct. But the company says that it is reimagining its branding for the modern consumer. The new Potato Head toys will launch this autumn. I'm sure you'll be one of the first to buy them.
You say potato, I say potato. That still is true.
That is true. And so after that, I'll leave you with the latest in the ongoing saga between Facebook and the Australian government. Facebook has signed preliminary pay deals with 3 news publishers a day after Australia's parliament passed a law that would make digital giants pay for news. Camille Nedlek has the story.
Tech giant Facebook did an about-face in Australia, ending a week-long media blackout in which it refused to let news publishers post to its Australian site. This as the Australian government made the final amendments to its news media bargaining code before voting it into law. The new legislation will force the firm to pay for content featured on its sites.
Global tech giants, they're changing the world, but we can't let them run the world.
The new law means Australia is the first country in the world where a government arbitrator can decide how much Facebook and Google must pay local media to show their content if direct talks with the companies fall through. Many other countries could be interested in following suit. On Friday, the Silicon Valley juggernaut announced it now has preliminary commercial agreements with 3 small local publishers, which are due to be finalised in the coming months. But damage to the Facebook brand has already been done, with some users resenting its media blackouts.
My perception of them is really deteriorated, so I would be actively not seeking out using Facebook.
But if Facebook is now playing ball, it's also hit out at the new requirements, saying that in 2020 it generated around 5.1 billion click-throughs to Australian news websites, which it says is worth over 200 million euros. It's invested almost €500 million to support journalism since 2018 and wants to invest a further €800 million over the next 3 years.